Hey everybody, Russ, the Millennial Numismatist here, and today is going to be a little bit of a different video than you might be used to, where it's just me kind of randomly talking, telling you guys about bullion updates and things like that. But today I brought some really cool toys home to kind of show you guys and play with. So recently I did a video with T the Silver Stacker that he pretty much calls the history of Mexican coinage. And what I think is really, really cool is how the dollar, the thing that we are all very, very familiar with, everybody across the world, as it's the unit, it's the world's reserve currency. But how did the dollar come to be? And to find that out, we have to look at some really, really cool things. So, with the magic of what I like to call desk view, let me show you what I have. All right, before we get too far into anything, I think first we need to talk about the word dollar itself. So, according to Oxford Languages, the word dollar is from the early Flemish or Low German dollar, also thaler. Basically, this is a coin that was issued in the Low Countries for a very, very long time. And what's really cool is I have one right here. This is a really cool one because this is actually one of the last ones to ever be struck. This is a Thaler from 1814, and if you don't know what was going on around 1814, well, there was a whole lot of strife, and this place called the Holy Roman Empire and Napoleon and a bunch of craziness that I won't really get into here. But this coin is where we get the word dollar from. I have heard a lot of legends. So, for example, New York was founded by the Dutch. It was New Amsterdam at the time. And they brought their currency over. And there's dollars or thalers that are even in the Red Book that are really just Dutch thalers. So, this is where the word comes from. Now, these would have circulated in the US, at least the very early ones. Some of them would have. But there is something you were much, much more likely to see in the New World. One particular colonial empire was much more active much earlier in the New World than the others. And of course, I'm talking about the Spanish. This is a very, very cool piece. This is a Spanish 4 real. We're all very familiar with the 8 real, which we're going to get into a lot more. This is half of that. What's really cool about this was struck from 1542 to 1555, and this is the very first coin, not technically the very first coin, obviously. There were others just like it that were struck, but this is the first type of coin that was struck in the New World. This particular coin was struck in Mexico City, and this is less than 20 years after the Aztecs were completely defeated, and the Spanish are minting coins in the former Aztec capital. So very, very cool coin. You're going to see a lot of symbolism on the front. You're going to see the 2 pillars of Hercules, which is, of course, very, very famous for being Spain. And then you actually get the royal coat of arms on the back. Very, very cool. Very pretty rare piece. It's about a $1,200 coin. You see these occasionally. But what a lot of people are really much more familiar with are going to be, of course, the 8 reals. This is where the term piece of 8 comes from. So I'm sure you've even heard the phrase 2 bits. So literally what they would do is they would take these and they would cut them basically in fourths or eighths, and that would be how you could make change if you didn't have 4 reales. These are very, very crude looking because these are what we call cobs. Cobs were they were interesting. Basically, what they were doing is they were pulling so much silver out of the ground that they just needed to get it coined, and they needed to get it coined real quick because this stuff was badly needed back in the home country, the mother country. And of course, it would have circulated everywhere else. The 8 real really does become, for the most part, the world reserve currency of the time. You see these pop up everywhere, from the New World to the Old World, even to the Far East. So these are very crude coins, like I said. They're called cobs because they're basically just hacked off of a silver bar. So here's how this entire process would work. Actually, coin cobs, it's a fairly simple but kind of crazy process. Basically, Silver would be mined and it would be refined into something like this. This is a silver bar, and this is actually contemporary to these coins here. However, it doesn't come from the Spanish. This particular silver bar, very, very crude as it is, comes from a Dutch wreck off of the coast of Africa in the 1500s. While this is not obviously New World silver, it is a tremendously good example of what bars would have looked like with the refining technology that everybody had. So basically, with cobs, all the minter would do would be to take part of this bar, hack it off, get it to the right weight, and then put one of these stamps on each side, usually with a hammer. It's not like coins like we're used to where they're using, round blanks or planchets. They are literally just hacking off silver. And they are so crude, and you'll see them clipped sometimes because the only thing that the minters cared about was the weight of the coin. As long as the coin weighed right, it didn't matter even an ounce of how the coin looked. So when we talk about, or you see in movies and things like that, pirate treasure, this is true pirate treasure. This is the stuff that would have been loaded onto Spanish treasure galleons and sent from the New World to the Old World, where pirates in the golden age of piracy would have fought and taken it. So these are really, really cool. They're not incredibly rare, but they can be pretty expensive. Both of these pieces are near $1,000. And what's cool is you get to see how many mints the Spanish really set up to really try and exploit all the silver they could. These are both actually Bolivian pieces, and they're about almost they're a little over 50 years apart, and you can definitely see the crudeness in each of them. I actually really like the 1695 one a lot better than the 1749 one. So, where do we go from crude silver bars and crude coins? Well, let me show you. So, we've seen some really crude coins, but now you're going to see something a lot more familiar. This is an 1806 8 real minted in Mexico City. Now, this, of course, looks just like a normal silver dollar size coin because it is. This is really the next evolution in what the Spanish were doing here in the New World. Now, you'll have to excuse this one. It's pretty covered in chop marks, which is something that I will do a video on another day, but it really does illustrate our purpose very well. It's uniform, it's well done, it's what a coin should look like. But by now, I'm sure you're all wondering, why in the world am I talking about Spanish coins when I told you this was a video about the American dollar? Well, my friends, this coin here and this coin here are both American dollars. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, until 1857, both of these coins were legal tender in the United States of America. During our early federal history, and really up until the Civil War, and even a little bit after the Civil War, we had a very, very hard time minting enough coins to meet demand. What was available? Spanish milled dollars. So this was law until 1857 that all Spanish coins were legal tender. And there's another reason behind that, and that's because our monetary system is based off this guy here. If you've ever heard the expression 2 bits, basically what you're hearing is a reference to our archaic monetary system. So a bit would have been a slice of this coin, and they would have been cut up, and they would have been spent as change. A lot of people are always very curious as to why the United States ever in the world made a half cent. What in the world do you buy for a half cent? Well, 2 bits would be 25 cents. So one bit is 12.5 cents. If I buy an item for 10 cents in a shopkeeper's store and I give him a bit, how does he make me change? Well, that, my friends, is what the half cent is for. So, this was a very quick, down and dirty video on a little history that you might not have known. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe, and if you'd like to share, I would be intensely appreciative. Until next time, I'm Russ, the Millennial Numismatist.